we know that seeds germinate. How can we define germination? So germination is the process of formation of a new plant, that is a seedling, which will be actually the resultant of developing embryo. Embryo results into the seedling. So till the time the new leaves, fresh new leaves are formed and the new roots appear which can absorb water and minerals, so the food which is required, the energy which is required, that is obtained from the food stored. That can be either from the endosperm or it can be from the cotyledons. Then you need to go through the definition of germination, that is the process of formation of seedling developed from the embryo. All seeds undergo a period of rest, we call it dormancy, and it seems that they are dead seeds, but actually they are full of life. But in fact the chemical activities are going on, although at a very slow rate, and little food is utilized. The dry seeds consume oxygen, give out carbon dioxide, extremely minute quantities, and they release some heat as well. And when we place under proper conditions, this dormant embryo becomes active. It starts showing the cells start multiplying and the new structures are formed, and we call it as germination. Okay. Then what are the conditions necessary for germination? We all know that seeds will germinate if we give them water. They need water, they need proper oxygen and suitable temperature. Optimum temperature is 25 degrees to 35 degrees Celsius, but it can vary depending upon the type of the seed. Now there are some experiments which are based on germination process. So like, how can we prove that water is necessary for germination? So for this, very simple, take two beakers A and B, put seeds in them. These seeds you have to put in one beaker, you take just soak them in wet cotton wool, and in second beaker B you put the seeds in dry cotton wool. Now keep them in ordinary room temperature, that means optimum temperature, and within a day or two you will observe that the seeds which you have kept in wet cotton wool, they will show germination, radicle will come out, whereas which you have kept in dry cotton wool, there will be no signs of germination. So this is hence it is proven that water is necessary for the germination. The second experiment is to prove that suitable temperature is necessary. So for that also you can use the same two beakers, and in this time you take both the seeds, keep them in wet cotton wool, because now we want to see temperature requirement. So keep them in wet cotton wool so that water requirement is provided. After that, keep one of them in refrigerator. Then what you will observe, after 2 or 3 days you will observe that the beaker which you have kept in refrigerator will not show the germination, or very less, whereas the seeds which were kept outside in optimum temperature, they will show the signs of germination. So this clearly indicates that optimum temperature or suitable temperature is necessary for the seeds to grow. The third one is experiment to prove that air is necessary, that is oxygen is necessary for germination. So for this you have to perform this experiment. We will take two flasks A and B. In both we have kept seeds in wet cotton wool. In one flask we have tied a test tube with the help of thread, and this test tube is filled with plain water, whereas in other B flask we have taken the same test tube tied with the thread, but in this we will take alkaline pyrogallic acid. This alkaline pyrogallic acid will absorb oxygen. So after keeping them for 1 or 2 days, what will you observe? You can see that these seeds will start germinating. Okay, whereas where you have taken pyrogallic acid, this pyrogallic acid will absorb all the oxygen present in the flask. So these seeds will not get oxygen. Although there can be some germination, because seeds can germinate anaerobically also. This we will discuss later on in the next chapter. Okay. The last experiment is the 3 bean seed experiment. So this 3 bean seed experiment is quite common. In this, how we perform is, we take one glass slide and we tie 3 seeds, bean seeds, at one place and at certain distance. You can mark them as A, B and C also, or simply you can tie them with the help of thread. Then you have to dip this slide in beaker filled with water in such a way that this seed is completely immersed in water. This seed is not at all immersed in water, it hangs outside the water, and this seed is dipped half in water and half in the air. Then after 2-3 days, what you will observe? This seed will not germinate, this seed will not germinate, only this one will germinate. The reason is that this seed got both water as well as fresh oxygen. This seed is getting very little oxygen from water, which is not sufficient for the germination, and this seed is not getting water, so they will not germinate. So by this experiment also we can prove that how water is required and oxygen is required for the seed germination. Okay. Then our next topic is types of germination. We have two types of germination. We call them, we will see from this diagram, one is epigeal and one is hypogeal. So as the name suggests, hypo means below, geal here refers to earth, below earth. That means a type of germination in which the seeds, when sown, their cotyledons will remain under the ground. Cotyledons will remain under the soil, they will not come out. In case of epigeal germination, what happens that the seeds, when sown, their cotyledons are pushed forward, and see, you can see here, these are the two cotyledons, they have come above the soil, and these are the new leaves coming out, and later on these cotyledons will be shed off. So in this germination in which the cotyledons come above the soil are called epigeal, and one in which the cotyledons do not come above, remain below the soil, is known as hypogeal germination. Now how does it we can decide that, or how come we come to know that which seeds will undergo hypogeal or epigeal germination? So this is based upon the elongation of two structures, that is epicotyle or hypocotyle. So recently in the previous video I discussed with you the structure of bean seed, and I explained you that this region between the embryonic axis, that is the point of attachment of the embryo, and this plumule, this much part is called epicotyle, and the part between this radicle and this point of attachment is called hypocotyle. Now during germination, both hypocotyle and epicotyle do not germinate together. Either the hypocotyle will elongate or the epicotyle will elongate first. Okay. Now based upon this, if the epicotyle elongates first, then cotyledons remain underground. Epicotyle elongates, plumule means epicotyle, then a plumule will come out, and first of all this will be formed. So the cotyledons will remain under the ground. In case of, so that means if epicotyle elongates first, the type of germination will be hypogeal. Okay. And on the other hand, if hypocotyle elongates first, means the radicle is formed first and hypocotyle elongates, then these cotyledons will be pushed above the soil. So if hypocotyle elongates first, the type of germination will be epigeal. Fine. Another example is also given here. This is the germination of maize grain. Maize grain also shows hypogeal germination. So that means here also plumule elongates first, that is epicotyle elongates, and roots are formed. As we know that maize grain has coleoptile and coleorhiza, the protective coverings. We can see both these as membrane present, sheath present on them. Okay. And then these are the fibrous or the adventitious roots present in this maize grain. So the last topic of the chapter is another type of important, we can say an exceptional germination. We call it viviparous germination. So usually seeds germinate in two ways, either hypocotyle or epicotyle, that is elongates, that means hypogeal or epigeal germination. A special type of germination is called viviparous. As the name indicates, viviparous here refers to producing live young ones, viviparous. In some mangrove plants that is which grow the plants which are found in swampy areas or the marshy areas, the examples are like Rhizophora and Soneraceae. They show a special mode of seed germination, in which you can see from this example the seeds germinate. The seeds do not get detached from the plant, parent plant. They remain attached there. They germinate there itself, means while being attached to the parent plant, the seeds will germinate and they will form the roots. Once the roots get anchorage, means they get anchored to the soil, then they are broken off or cut off, or then they get detached and then they can form their own plant. So this is a special type of germination. We call it vivipary. So here you can see special mode of seed germination called vivipary, in which seed germinates inside the fruit while it is still attached to the parent plant. After germination, the plant drops the seedling into the soil, which develops in root and fixes itself. So vivipary here refers to produce live young ones. Fine. And in the end, they have explained that what is a seedling. You know that now once the baby plant which has resulted from the growth of embryo is called the seedling. And seedling is a stage in the growth of plant from seed before it has become wholly independent. Seedling is now independent. Its roots start absorbing water and minerals. Its leaves start manufacturing food by the process of photosynthesis. And in turn, it will again become the adult plant. And again, it will bear fruits and flowers, and the cycle will continue. So this is all about this chapter. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the classes. Thank you very much. God bless you.